Hello, dear Manhwa fans. I hope you're all having an amazing day. Before we get started, I want to give a special shout out to everyone who left comments on the previous video, sending you all a big hug. A special mention to Quinn DeFun and DarkGamer3492, who left their first comment. You guys are super quick. Thank you so much. Now, without further ado, let's dive into this exciting recap. On the beach, Emma admired the beauty of the ocean, but felt she couldn't join in on the fun. She sat on the sand, exhausted, watching the other girls enjoying themselves. She wondered why they ignored her and didn't invite her to join. Even though her head ached and she wanted to play, she also felt sleepy and nauseous. Deciding to return to her room to rest, she suddenly noticed Johan laughing. This annoyed Emma so much that she kicked a beach ball, aiming for Leon, but the ball curved and ended up hitting Amelie instead, momentarily freezing her like a computer rebooting. Concerned, Emma rushed over to apologize and check if she was okay. Uncle reassured her that everything was fine since it was just an inflatable ball. Still feeling guilty, Emma kept apologizing, even though Anoy assured her that it really wasn't a big deal. However, she genuinely regretted it. Emily, noticing Emma's state, asked if she was all right after what she had drunk the night before. Emma thought she probably looked terrible and had a slight headache. Emily offered her some medicine, which Emma gratefully accepted. At that moment, the other girls grabbed Emma and tossed her into the water, playing with her as if she were a toy. Even though she called for help, she ended up enjoying the game. After a while, she was completely exhausted. She had accomplished her goal of having fun, but sleep overcame her, and she dozed off right there on the beach. Meanwhile, Chloe was tired and drenched from the girls' antics. Gina assumed she didn't want to play, but in reality, she just hated the cold. Just then, the girls offered her some towels, a gesture she appreciated, especially from John. Even though Gina didn't make a big deal out of it, Chloe felt slightly embarrassed as she dried off. Gina invited her to lunch. John joked that doing so should be illegal, given how great they both looked. However, Chloe ignored the comment and asked Leon if he wasn't going to join the game. Luckily for him, he avoided what could have been a water-based ordeal. Chloe initially thought the game was silly, but for John it was a perfectly normal and fun activity, as long as no one got hurt. As she dried off, Ju noticed how bold she was to do so in front of so many people, even though she was actually embarrassed and had acted without thinking. Shyly, she told John that she wore the swimsuit to swim, not for him to look at, but if he wanted, she would show it to him. Before they could continue, they were interrupted by a discussion about what to eat. They were waiting for the blonde to join them for lunch, and she agreed to come along. Han suggested they go buy the food later, and Johan offered to help carry the bags. Han agreed, but Gina insisted that only the three girls should go and asked John to rest instead. Before leaving, they checked on Emma, then went to buy the supplies. Later, Emma woke up again and found herself face to face with Yelena's impressive presence. Noticing she was awake, Yelena greeted her, though it was no longer exactly morning. Concerned about Emma's complexion, she advised her to rest after what had happened the night before so she'd be ready for lunch. When Yelena saw Jeon passing by, she called him over and asked him to take Emma with him since she didn't look well. John gladly agreed, and Yelena apologized for the favor she was asking. John headed to his room to grab something since it was on his way. That afternoon, Emma really wanted to go play in the ocean. However, to Leon, she had looked like a washed-up beachworm just a short while ago, reminding her that she had wanted to throw up earlier. Emma denied it, saying she felt much better, but she was still sluggish and wanted him to comfort her. However, he insisted she rest and then left, saying he was going to the beach to have fun. This infuriated Emma, and she spitefully wished that no one would play with him. As she shut the door, John returned to tell her that she could always play in the pool instead. Realizing she had no other choice, Emma stayed behind, regretting how much she had drunk the night before. Just then, she heard a voice calling her and apologizing, asking her to wake up because it was time to go play. It was Leon, wearing an outfit that didn't suit him at all. As they headed to the pool, they found it overcrowded, making it impossible to play there. Faced with this situation, Emma asked what they would do. John suggested she go back to bed, and when she asked what he would do, he simply replied that he would do what everyone does: sleep. However, in Emma's imagination, she interpreted his words differently and, feeling embarrassed, quickly dismissed the thought. Upon arriving at the room, Emma was ready to rest. Johan moved to turn off the lights and leave her alone, but Emma got up and stopped him, finding it somewhat inappropriate. John assumed she didn't want to sleep yet and maybe preferred some other activity before resting. He didn't quite understand what Emma was implying until an idea struck him, and he told her to wait for his call. Sometime later, Emma was completely confused when Joe had prepared the water for her to get in. something she didn't entirely grasp. John went on to explain that since the bathroom was quite spacious, it would be like a mini pool. To make it even better, they would have a beautiful view with warm water. Finding the idea quite appealing and noticing how charming Leon looked, Emma decided to step into the bathtub. Jay had planned to add some bath salts, but before he could, Emma plunged straight into the tub, enjoying the soothing sensation of the hot water while admiring the lovely beach view. She offered John the chance to join her, but he hesitated, not wanting to get wet. However, Emma splashed him with water, using that as an excuse to urge him in, arguing that he was already wet. John started splashing her back, making her plead for him to stop. That's when John suddenly remembered something important and went to get it immediately. He returned with a delicious cold drink, which Emma thoroughly enjoyed since the contrast with the hot water was refreshing. When she asked for another, John refused, reminding her of her headache from the previous night. Despite his refusal, Emma kept insisting, and John jokingly commented on what happens when she drinks too much. As a playful punishment, John rubbed the cold drink against Emma's cheek, making her shiver. Even so, Emma still wanted another sip, while Jeon remained firm in his refusal. Frustrated, Emma cursed him but admitted she would have been terribly bored staying in the room alone. She thanked John for keeping her company. While John was absorbed in the warmth of the moment, his gaze was so focused on her that suddenly he cupped Emma's cheeks. Though this annoyed her, he simply told her he wanted to look at her, revealing the emotions stirring inside him. To Emma, John seemed a bit mischievous, as she hadn't even noticed when he had done that. Even so, Aeon felt tempted to tease her again and warned her to be more careful. Emma didn't see any harm in it since they were alone, but John chose not to dwell on it and brought her another drink. Surprised, she hugged him, finding it sweet that he had given her one. John told her not to get his clothes wet, but she kept holding on to him without a care. Emma then asked why he was being so nice to her that day. John explained that when he saw her expression, he thought she was having a rough time and hoped she would drink more responsibly in the future to avoid feeling sick. Understanding his point, Emma, feeling charmed by Johan, started planting kisses on his forehead, finding it adorable and wanting to do it as much as possible. This caught Jeon off guard. He thought Emma had already kissed him way too many times. But Emma continued, trailing kisses down his neck, making John squirm from the ticklish sensation and leaving him visibly flustered. Emma noticed his reaction and burst into laughter at how amusing he looked. However, Johan didn't find it funny at all. Emma teased that he looked cute and reminded him that he was the one who wanted to send her to bed. Although Johan's intentions were good, he clarified that there was nothing strange about it. Emma looked at him, and Leon, feeling puzzled, didn't understand why she had suddenly gone silent, creating a somewhat tense atmosphere. However, Emma kept hugging him tightly, not giving him any space to breathe, which tickled due to her breath. At one point, they lost their balance and slipped into the bathtub. John nearly hit his head, which he pointed out to Emma as dangerous. She quickly apologized, and Leon reminded her that playing in such a risky place wasn't a good idea while pinching her cheek. At that moment, Emma realized something odd. Her swimsuit seemed to be in a peculiar position. John assumed she was showing off her outfit on purpose, but when she apologized, she also felt embarrassed, thinking John had been staring at her attire intentionally. To avoid further discomfort, John turned around to give her privacy while she adjusted herself. Still, he decided to let it slide, blaming the heat of the water. He then asked if she was feeling dizzy and suggested she get out soon. John recommended that Emma take a shower and then go to bed so she could recover properly after taking her medicine. However, Emma had other ideas. She approached him from behind, wrapping her arms around him and refusing to let go. To convince John to stay a bit longer, she proposed giving him 10 farewell kisses. John agreed but warned that someone might walk in on them, suggesting they still had time. While John was thinking about helping her out of the tub, he noticed a cloth that seemed familiar. It was the same one Emma had used to cover her head earlier. Even though she claimed it was a simple mistake, John suspected she was lying. But before he could question her further, Emma was eager to start with the kisses. Well, instead of that, they chose to spread the word of the Lord. Thanks to this, they continued their prayers for nearly 3 whole chapters. It was truly inspiring. Highly recommended. Afterward, Emma fell asleep, but when she woke up, she blushed and started kicking the bed. The trip with her group had coincided with her sharing a room with Jeon, where they had prayed together. She felt like a complete fool, yet she loved that craziness and wasn't even sure what she was saying. Eventually, she just sat there for a moment before deciding to get up since she couldn't fall back asleep. She grew anxious, wondering when everyone would return so they could go eat. Noticing that Leon was sleeping on the couch, Emma wondered why he was there, even though he still had those weird glasses from earlier. Unable to resist, she reached out and touched his face, giggling because he looked like a baby. Later, the girls entered the room, intending to take a shower, but they were making a lot of noise. Some quickly changed and rushed to bathe, unaware of Leon's presence. Meanwhile, he was just waking up. Since the room was dark, he assumed it was still nighttime and decided to go back to sleep. Meanwhile, Chloe was called to go to the store to buy milk and coffee. During the trip, she suddenly realized she was touching something soft, only to discover it was Leon. Confused, she asked how long he had been there. He simply replied that it was already daytime, even though it was barely noon. This surprised John, who hadn't noticed the glasses. He just wanted to get some rest and ended up falling asleep. In the end, Chloe found the whole situation hilarious because no one had noticed his presence until now. However, John wanted to go back to his room. Chloe, on the other hand, didn't mind if he stayed and even suggested they go shopping together. At that moment, Gina arrived, wrapped in a towel, startling Chloe. Realizing there was a guy in the room, she quickly apologized for interrupting. Jeon, on the other hand, also apologized for being there and now really wanted to leave. The noise attracted the attention of the other girls, who started teasing him, calling him a peeping Tom. Leon, clearly nervous, tried to explain the misunderstanding, saying he was there because of the teacher. But that wasn't enough to stop the girls, who continued throwing playful accusations at him. Johan attempted to clarify the situation once again, but they kept pressing him with questions about why he was even there. To make matters worse, one of John's friends barged in, warning that he had been missing and might have drowned. Seeing him there, perfectly fine, Han assumed the guy who opened the door was just trying to spy on the others. As a result, they slammed the door in his face. And that's how these thrilling chapters wrap up. I hope you enjoyed this manhwa summary. Let me know your thoughts and recommendations for other manhwas. Don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and share with your friends. Drop a comment about what you thought and which of the girls you liked the most. See you in the next recap. Goodbye.